This is the solution video for section 2.4, problem number 19, parts D and E. All right, so D says f of g of x at x equals 0. All right, and so remember this is a composition of functions f of g, so now we need to use the chain rule. All right, so the chain rule says f prime of g of x times the derivative of g, which is g prime of x. All right, and so that means we want to evaluate at 0. So f prime of g of 0 times g prime of 0. All right, so now what is g of 0? So I have f prime of g of 0. So if I look, g of 0 is 1, right? So I have f prime of 1 times g prime of 0. What is g prime of 0? G prime of 0 is 1/3. So now I have f prime of 1 times 1/3. So what is f prime of 1? So f prime of 1 is negative 1/3 times the 1/3, and so I get negative 1/9. All right, so that's D. All right, and then E, well, is kind of very similar, right? It's just going to be G of F. So now I'm doing the reverse. I'm taking the chain rule, but applying it with G on the outside. So I have G prime of F times, I'm sorry, all right, G prime of F of X, right? And then times the derivative of the inside, so that would be F prime of X. I apologize, it's just not letting me write right now. All right, and so now we're just filling in 0 there again. All right, so now I have G prime of F of 0 times F prime of 0. All right, so G prime of F of 0. So that means G prime of, all right, so now we need to look at the table. What is F of 0? So F of 0 is 1. So I have G prime of 1 times F prime of 0. F prime of 0 is 5. So G prime of 1 times 5. All right, so G prime of 1, so looking at the table, G prime of 1 is negative 8/3 times 5, right? And so there we would have negative 40/3.